Hey guys, thank you for joining me for this week's edition of Cooking with Shane. We are sticking with our fairy tale theme. We've done Rapunzel and Hansel and Gretel and the Three Little Pigs. So today, it's not a traditional story in the sense of a Grimm's fairy tale from a long, long time ago, but it does have all the elements of fairy tales, and we're going to be doing Alice in Wonderland. And today we're going to go to the Mad Hatter's tea party. And I figure with it being so hot and humid outside, what better than some nice iced tea to kind of cool off with. So we're going to make two different kinds of iced tea today. We're going to make a raspberry iced tea and a peach iced tea. They're both very simple. This is actually going to be a relatively quick demonstration. All we have to do is make a simple syrup and then add our fruit and cook it down. I've already made my tea and I'm letting it chill. There's nothing special about the tea, just make whatever tea you make. I think most iced teas tend to use a black tea, but if you have a preference for tea, go ahead and use whatever tea you want. I'm using black tea today. But I've got that in the fridge right now, it's cooling down, so while that's going, I'm going to just make my simple syrups. And just as the name suggests, it's a very simple syrup. It's, our simple syrup today is 1 part sugar to 2 parts water. So we've got 2 cups of water in each pot, since we're making 2 different kinds. So I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar to each pot. So you don't want to get your water boiling and then dump your sugar in. You want to let the water come to a boil with the sugar in it, because we're hoping to dissolve this sugar so it cooks to a point where it won't try to recrystallize once it cools down. Because we want that sugar to sort of thicken the liquid, and that's what makes the syrup. So we've got this in here now. We're going to give it a good stir. And we're going to let it come to a boil. You just want to kind of stir it up, get all the lumps of sugar out. When you're done, your water will still look clear. It's not going to look like there's anything in there. We're just waiting basically to get that sugar up to a temperature where it won't recrystallize once it cools down. So we're letting this cook. It's going to go 2 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about the fruits that you can put into this. And you can kind of do this with most fruits, most soft fruits. So I'm going to use raspberry, like I said, because raspberries are in season right now, and so are peaches. You can get these really cheap right now. If it's off season and you really want peach or you really want raspberry, you can use the frozen stuff. Just let it thaw out completely first and then go ahead and put it in. You don't want to put frozen in here because the water that's in there will leach out and add more liquid, which will destabilize the sugar syrup. So if you're using frozen, it's totally fine. Just kind of let it thaw completely before you put it in. As far as other fruits, there's lots of other things that are in season right now. You've got blueberries and strawberries. Those would be really good in this. Most of your stone fruits you could use, so your apricots and plums and peaches, you could use those. Pretty much, as long as it's not like an apple probably wouldn't work. You just have to let it cook a lot longer, and it probably won't break down quite as good as some of the softer fruits. Some of your more watery fruits like watermelon and cantaloupe might be a little too watery, so if you wanted to do that, just kind of cut back a little bit on the amount of water that you originally put in. Maybe like a ½ cup less, and then add your watermelon, your cantaloupe, your honeydew. You can kind of have fun with this. It's what's kind of great about cooking is you make it your own. I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what you can do, and then hopefully you guys will take it and run with it. So we have to let this cook. This has to come up to a boil. So this is going to take about 2 minutes. So we're going to cook this off for 2 minutes and let it come to a boil, and when it does come to a boil, we'll show you how to do the rest. Alright, so we brought our syrup up to a boil, our sugar and water up to a boil, and we let it boil for about 2 minutes. So now we're just going to add the fruit. So, like I said, this is a very simple syrup. So I've got about a cup of raspberries. You can make this as strong or as light as you want. If you want a stronger raspberry flavor, just add more raspberries. If you don't want such a strong raspberry taste, just add fewer. If If you want to save a few for garnish, you could do that too. We're just going to dump them all in. So just kind of be careful when they dump in there. And then I've got about two peaches here diced up. It's about 1.5 cups. Those are going to go in the other simple syrup. Bring these back up to a boil, and we're going to let them cook for about 10 minutes. So we want the fruit to really break down. If you notice there are any big pieces, just kind of use whatever you're using to stir, your whisk, your spoon, whatever. Just kind of, pound it down on the bottom, really break that fruit up, because you really want to get all those juices out. Because we're going to end up straining this afterwards, so we want to get as much flavor out of this as we can. So we're going to let this cook for about 10 minutes. And then we'll strain it. So we'll see you in 10 minutes. Alright, so we have let these cook for about 10 minutes. The peaches have gotten nice and soft, and the raspberries are completely broken down. All we have now are just the seeds floating around. So now we have a choice. With the raspberry, you definitely want to strain this because you want to get those seeds out. Seeds tend to be really bitter, so you don't want that in your tea, and you don't want to be drinking seeds with your tea. There are kind of two camps on the peaches. Some people don't mind the chunks of the peach in their iced tea. So if you don't really need to strain this right now. But if you don't like the chunks in, just go ahead and strain it. You've got enough of the flavor in the syrup. It's kind of important to note now too that we call it a simple syrup, so you might be expecting this to be pretty thick right now. And it's not going to be really that thick at all. It'll thicken as it cools. So that's why you have to let it pretty much come to refrigerator temperature. So we're going to go ahead and strain this now. And it's just as simple as pouring it through a strainer. So this is really hot, so you'll want a parent to do this, or a parent to be there at least to watch. So you just want to use a spoon, kind of push it down through. So we're going to do this with both of them. We're going to just kind of stir this until all the liquid comes out, and the only thing that's going to be left in here is going to be your seeds and a little bit of the pulp from the raspberries, and then there'll be pulp from the peaches. But you don't need to sit here and watch me do this for the next 3-4 minutes. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to finish this up, we're going to put a plastic wrap over it, we're going to put it back in the fridge, and then we're going to let it cool completely, and then we'll go ahead and make our tea. So once everything is cooled down and we can mix it all together, we'll be back and we'll make the tea. Alright, so we've let everything chill in the fridge, our tea is chilled, our syrups are chilled. So one important thing to know is it's not going to be, the syrups aren't going to be super thick, they're just going to be a little thicker than water. So don't think that it has to really set up to be as thick as maple syrup or molasses. It's really just a way to concentrate the sugar flavor into the water. So it's not going to be a super thick syrup. So now we have to just pour it and drink it. So we have a couple of options of how you want to do this. If you like the fruit flavor stronger in your tea, you'd obviously want to add more of your simple syrup to your tea. Or if you like your tea flavor a little bit stronger, you're just going to add a little more tea than syrup. I like about a 2-to-1 ratio, so I'm putting in, if I put in, I'm using a ladle because it's what I have. So if I put 2 ladles of this into a cup, I'm going to put 1 ladle of the simple syrup in. So it's really simple. We're just going to put our 2 ladles in, and I've already got ice in here. And then I'm just going to take a ladle of the raspberry syrup and pour that in. So you'll notice it turns a nice lovely color. I'm just going to give this a rinse, and then we'll make a quick peach. Again, we're going to do 2-to-1 here too, because we made our simple syrup the same strength, so we're going to have the same sweetness. But if you like it a little bit sweeter, a little more peach syrup. If you don't, a little more tea. If you want, you can kind of give that a stir, and it's ready to go. So that is how you join Mad Hatter's Tea Party. It's really simple. It seems like a lot of steps, but it's really just making your simple syrup in your tea and letting it cool and putting it all together. So I hope you try this, and I hope you try this with different types of teas and different types of fruits, and you can kind of make this your own. But until next time, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week.